Revealed, the incredible moment a homeless boy stopped me from drinking coffee. What happened next will change everything. Jake stood in line at his favorite coffee shop, the rich aroma of brewing coffee wafting through the air, a momentary distraction from the chaos swirling in his mind. A high-stakes case loomed, clients were demanding his attention, and the weight of his family's sacrifices pressed heavily on his shoulders. Clients celebrated wealth and power, while he felt tethered to a soul-crushing routine. The incessant ping of his phone reminded him of expectations, deadlines, and corporate pressures threatening to swallow him whole. Lost in thought, he barely noticed the boy standing beside him, tangled hair framing a sunken face adorned with a wide, innocent grin. "Look at those leaves," the boy exclaimed, pointing as golden leaves danced through the crisp air. The brightness of his grin flickered through Jake's somber haze. How could a boy who had seemingly lost everything see beauty in the mundane? For a fleeting moment, the gravity of Jake's burdens lightened. "Marcus," the boy said, eager to share his story, revealing dreams of becoming a scientist one day. Jake's heart thudded. In that innocent ambition, a flicker of longing ignited within him. He'd once had dreams too. The corporate grind suffocated those aspirations, replaced with a chase for success that felt increasingly hollow as he absorbed Marcus's words. The boy spoke with a conviction, a hope that struck a chord deep within Jake. But then there came a tremor in Marcus's voice, a quiet mention of a family torn apart by unbearable misfortune, shaking Jake from his reverie. Everything was normal until Marcus trailed off, eyes clouding with unspoken loss. Jake felt his chest tighten. He was confronted not just by the stark realities of their lives, but by the shadow of his own privileges, the education, the support, the opportunities that kept him on the path to success, while luck had dealt Marcus a cruel hand. Jake's mind whirled, caught in the throes of a moral dilemma. Should he dismiss Marcus's presence? Should he hurry back to the grind of his oppressive life, telling himself he didn't have time for distractions? Or should he step beyond the confines of his world, acknowledging the painful truth woven into this boy's story? The pressure he felt suddenly felt insurmountable. The chime of his phone, an urgent reminder from his boss, echoed ominously in his ears. "I've got that meeting at 10, Jake murmured, torn. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from."
I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The words hung in the air like a promise unkept. Marcus, undeterred, continued to express his desire for a better future filled with knowledge. Each statement rung like a bell in Jake's conscience, the conflict inside him sparking into an inferno of urgency. The connection he felt with Marcus was undeniable, yet he felt shackled by corporate expectations, the demands of status weighing heavily on his heart. As Marcus's tales of grit and dreams unfolded, Jake's long-buried fears began to surface. Was he betraying his own story by prioritizing success over compassion? What did it mean to truly succeed when the world outside the polished walls of his firm was one of neglect? He could either stand in solidarity with this boy or retreat back into the suffocating arms of ambition, allowing time to slip away. Just as Jake readied himself to reach out to Marcus to offer help, a knock at the coffee shop door jangled his nerves. The reality of his unchanged life eclipsed everything. The phone buzzed again, a stark reminder of the corporate world he fought so hard to be a part of. Would he have to choose between a career that consumed him or the haunting call of a boy whose dreams could so easily be snuffed out? With a sense of dread swelling within him, Jake braced himself for the challenge ahead. He knew that the choice he faced would irrevocably alter the trajectory, not just of their lives, but of his very identity. The moment hung in the air like a taut string, vibrating with the tension of a choice unmade. Jake felt the cold weight of expectations pressing down on him, clamoring for attention, while Marcus's hopeful eyes burned with sincerity just a few feet away. He glanced at his phone, where another notification flashed a reminder of his meeting. But in that instant, the urgency of ambition felt hollow in comparison to the spirit of the boy standing beside him. Time stretched as he wrestled with the parts of himself that seemed irreconcilable. Was this the life he wanted? A series of meetings with clients who saw him as merely a cog in their machine? Or was a chance to influence a young boy's life worth risking everything he had worked for? "Hold on," he said abruptly, feeling an uncharacteristic boldness surge within him. The words surprised even him, but they felt right. The blaring reminders from his phone faded into the background as he turned to Marcus, who leaned closer, his eager expression revealing a child's unfathomable hope. "I want to help you, Marcus," Jake said, his voice steadier than he felt. He could sense the boy's surprise as he continued. "Tell me more about your dream. What do you need?" For a brief second, as Marcus smiled wider than Jake had ever seen, he felt something shift inside himself. This act of reaching out cracked the shell of self-centered ambition that had encased him for too long.
It was a reminder of the boy Jake once was, a boy who had dreams before responsibilities tethered him to a life of mere survival. Marcus's excited chatter flowed like a stream, filled with vivid images of science fairs and inventions. The enthusiasm reminded Jake of the passion he had buried beneath the grind of corporate life. In that moment, each word from Marcus was a small revival of Jake's own extinguished dreams. He felt alive, invigorated by what could be through the exploration of ideas rather than bottom lines. "Could you show me some of your experiments?" Jake asked, witnessing the spark in Marcus's eyes morphing into wide beams. Here was a chance for both of them to explore, to create, to reimagine what success could mean outside the stifling bounds of a corporate career. As Marcus rattled off ideas for science projects, Jake made a silent promise to himself. If he could redirect even a fraction of his resources to help the boy harness his ambition, perhaps it would breathe new life into his own dreams. But as the moment filled with possibilities, a reminder from his phone brought clarity crashing back. It was a ping from his boss. The message read, "Where are you? We need you to finalize the contract." Immediacy and pressure coiled around him anew. The world he momentarily stepped away from clawed at him, threatening to pull him back into its suffocating embrace. Jake's pulse quickened. He looked back at Marcus, who still brimmed with unfiltered enthusiasm. The ages-old conflict of ambition versus purpose tightened its grip around his chest. What was more valuable, a contract that paid the bills, or the destiny of a boy pinned to dreams? Was he truly willing to forfeit the knowledge gained in this moment to return to the monochrome life he had been leading? A wave of realization struck him. This choice wasn't just about Marcus anymore. It was about reclaiming parts of himself he had forgotten. The personal stakes had elevated. He needed to prioritize with intention, redefine what it meant to succeed, and perhaps more importantly, discover what role he would play in the lives of others. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the turn of a pivotal moment. "Let's meet after my meeting. I want to hear everything." Without waiting for an answer, he dashed from the coffee shop, uncertainty clawing at his heels. But clarity started to emerge. His drive to assist Marcus was fueling a newfound sense of purpose, urging him toward a decision that would irrevocably reshape him. The journey ahead beckoned with anticipation, but he could also hear the stagnant murmurs of a life he had relied on, ready to overwhelm him again. As he marched back to the office, the disparity of his two worlds made his heart race. The internal battle churned on as realization dawned. He was no longer just Jake the corporate lawyer, but a man standing on the edge of self-discovery and accountability. Would he succumb to familiar demands, or would he embrace his evolving identity? The clock was ticking, and amidst the currents of doubt and determination, Marcus's dreams ignited a fierce question in Jake's mind. What would he ultimately choose? The office was a whirlwind of movement, a stark contrast to the calm clarity Jake had just encountered. As he stepped inside, the fluorescent lights felt invasive, harsh against the memories of Marcus's bright eyes and whispered dreams. He tried to shake off the lingering effects of the boy's enthusiasm, but each passing second pulled him deeper into the world of contracts and deadlines, where the human spark felt dimmed. Jake's mind whirred with thoughts. The urgency of his boss's message weighed heavily on him, demanding attention. Yet in the back of his mind, Marcus's face flickered, a reminder of vast potential waiting to be nurtured. He felt a surge of indignant defiance rise at the thought of the soulless, profit-driven path that had become his norm. The office near his cubicle buzzed with trivial conversations. His colleagues were ensnared in the grind, unaware of the shifting dynamics of purpose occurring just beyond their walls. He reached his desk, the familiar sight of contract drafts and project proposals swirling with attendant frustration. The items before him now felt like chains binding him to a life devoid of meaning. Each paper, once a symbol of achievement, now represented an academic prison, one that stood in stark contrast to the bright future he envisioned for Marcus. With every click of the keyboard, Jake felt a part of him begin to decline, lost to expectations and routine. He opened a document to review the contract details, but found himself staring blankly at the screen. Resentment lingered. This work was paying for what? A comfortable life? Yet his soul felt old and fatigued, with every moment spent locked in this reality stealing from the vibrant possibilities waiting outside. Inspiration struck. He didn't have to wait until the end of the day to take a small step. Wasn't there a way to blend both worlds? What if he advocated for pro bono programs, creating initiatives that linked legal expertise to underprivileged youth? He envisioned using the skills he possessed for something greater, something that resonated with significance. Redirecting the power of his position into a platform for change began to take shape, much like one of Marcus's experiments emerging in a lab. His heart raced with the thrill of potential. If he took a strategic approach, perhaps he could rally some colleagues, even inspire them to join him in this venture. What if he created a mentorship program not only for Marcus, but for other young minds in the community? Jake began to scribble notes, enthusiasm surging like a battery bursting with unspent energy. He could envision the meetings where they—
However, with inspiration came a darker specter, casting shadows over his budding idea. The impending confrontation with his boss loomed large. What would he say? Would his boss dismiss the notion outright, reminding Jake of the benefits tied to his current projects? What if he felt threatened by a deviation from their commonplace goals, interpreting his ideas as distractions? As he steeled himself for that inevitable moment, determination rose to meet uncertainty. Jake's heart pounded, a drum signaling the conflict between ambition and passion. He closed his laptop, the decision to act firming within him. He would present his vision boldly, earnestly. "Just don't lose sight of your purpose," he reminded himself out loud, his voice steady as he glanced at the door, preparing to face the adversities both within and outside himself. As he took a breath and stood, ready to step into the meeting room, he felt a wind of change stoke the fire inside him. This was more than a simple proposal. It was a reclamation of his own dreams, and perhaps the key to helping others reclaim theirs. But was he prepared for the level of confrontation his idea might evoke? With his heart in his throat, Jake pushed open the door. The moment of truth was at hand, and he was done running from it. What awaited him on the other side? Cynicism or support? Both threatened to reshape his path irrevocably. As he spoke the first words in the meeting, he could only wonder how it would all unfold. Jake stepped into the meeting room, acutely aware of the tension radiating from his colleagues. The air felt thick, an almost tangible entity that smothered any hopes of comfort. As he looked around, anticipation mingled with a creeping fear. Would they understand? Would they listen? He cleared his throat, regaining a semblance of composure, and began speaking about his vision for mentorship programs designed to empower the youth in their community. Each word felt weighty, buoying beyond the usual confines of office jargon. He described Marcus, painting the vivid picture of a boy brimming with potential, waiting to ignite his dreams. He saw his audience of peers initially skeptical, their expressions hardened by years of adherence to profit-oriented pursuits. As Jake delved deeper into his ideas, pro bono sessions where attorneys could roll up their sleeves and impart knowledge to the next generation, their faces shifted subtly. He caught glimmers of intrigue against the backdrop of reluctance. A voice piped up from the back, asking how this proposal aligned with their current contracts and profit margins. Instantly, the room regained its cool skepticism. Jake exhaled deeply. This moment was pivotal. He felt the stakes elevate to a new height. The confrontation had begun. "It aligns with our core values," he countered, his voice steady despite the rumble of doubt in his stomach. "It allows us to give back, strengthen our community, and ultimately fosters a positive image for our firm." Isn't that a long-term investment? His challenge elicited a reaction. Some nodded, others crossed their arms, but to him, the shifting dynamics were a revelation. He began to see the people around him less as colleagues and more as individuals capable of growth. They were not immune to the kindling of aspiration that ignited Marcus.
Time stretched as discussions unfolded, and within the sparring of ideas, Jake found clarity. His passion had evoked a spark among his peers, leading to questions about logistics and potential partnerships with local schools. He even noticed a few reluctant smiles. The gravity of his concept was beginning to sink in. Perhaps cynicism wasn't the only voice in the room. But as enthusiasm brewed, so did the sharp sting of hesitation. What if he had miscalculated? His assertion had shifted gears, but there remained an invisible wall separating his ambition from reality. Would they truly rally behind him, or would they retreat to the predictable world of billing hours and task lists? The conversation reached a crescendo when his boss took the floor. Standing tall, the head of the department voiced the concerns that Jake had anticipated but barely managed to confront in his own mind. While I appreciate your initiative, Jake, our focus must remain on our clients and profitability. I don't believe a mentorship initiative is viable at this time. The words landed like a lead weight on his chest. Silence enveloped the room, tension thickening the air. Would he choose to retreat, to settle back into his comfortable routine, or would he double down on passion? As his colleagues exchanged glances, Jake felt a rippling surge of something he hadn't sensed before: defiance. No, he surprised himself by saying, we can be more than just a firm chasing billable hours. We have the tools and knowledge to impact lives. If not now, then when? We make the choice every day to influence our community positively or let our talents languish. Unexpectedly, murmurs of agreement began to rise among his peers. He had struck a chord. Whether it was hope, regret, or a forgotten dream being rekindled, Jake couldn't quite tell, but he saw a flicker of recognition in their eyes. Yet a lingering question loomed within him. Was his moment of resolution enough to influence the final decision? As discussions resumed, he could sense that the tide had shifted, but the confrontation was far from over. With uncertainty and a renewed determination swirling within, he could only wonder how far he could go in the face of institutional barriers. Could his colleagues rally behind him in the end, or would he stand alone in this quest for meaningful impact? As the meeting ebbed toward an unexpected conclusion, Jake found himself at yet another critical juncture, one where he had to decide whether to fight for the change he envisioned or simply accept the status quo. But there was something electric in the air, and he knew the time to act had come.
What decision would he make as the meeting drew to a close? The atmosphere in the room crackled with a potent mix of uncertainty and courage as Jake's defiance hung in the air. His heart hammered against his ribcage, a primal instinct urging him either to retreat or to stand firm. The clock ticked, each second amplifying the gravity of his choice. "Let's be realistic, Jake," his colleague Lynn interjected, her voice lacking the malice it could have held. "You know how difficult it is to balance profit with these kinds of initiatives. We have deadlines, expectations." The familiar rhythm of the office, centered around performance and profit, echoed through her words, structures he had begun to see as barriers to the potential he glimpsed. "Exactly," Jake countered, the heat rising in his chest as he saw too clearly the risk of complacency. "What is our work worth if we're just ticking boxes? Shouldn't we redefine what success means?" It was a gamble, and the stakes were escalating infinitely with each breath. A moment of contemplation crossed the faces of his colleagues, shadows mingling with the flicker of curiosity. Could they adjust their vision to encompass something grander? Jake leaned in further, his voice steadying as he spoke. "This isn't about additional work. It's about a personal investment in our legacy. Wouldn't we want to be remembered as more than just contributors to the bottom line? Wouldn't we want to leave behind a firm that nurtures talent, not stifles it?" The weight of Jake's words filled the room. His determination seemed to create a ripple, a collective moment of reckoning. He continued to press forward, feeling the shift within himself as the fear of judgment began to dissipate, replaced by something vast and empowering. Imagine the connection, the growth, mentoring a young mind like Marcus. That impact could resonate long after we've moved on. A soft murmur traveled through the group, and Jake noted the transformation of expressions. Where cynicism once reigned, doubt faded, replaced by intrigue. Lynn bit her lip, contemplating. His words seemed to resonate.
but the unwillingness to confront the precarious balance between ambition and caution loomed large. "I can't promise that the firm will see immediate returns." Her voice hesitated, bridging caution with curiosity. "But you're saying this could impact our professional identity?" "Exactly. Profits will follow when community trust builds," he asserted, feeling the swell of hope. "Let's pool our resources creatively instead of limiting ourselves. We only need to take that first step. This could be our chance to stand apart in our industry." As he spoke, something shifted within him too, a reservoir of strength pushing him onwards. The internal doubt that had stalked his thoughts faded. He didn't just want the approval of his peers. He craved a deeper alignment with his purpose. Yet the looming question remained: how far was he willing to go?
"Maybe we can try a pilot program," suggested another colleague, intrigued and yet cautious. "Start small, see how it fits with our existing framework." Encouraged by this glimmer of support, Jake took a deep breath. "Let's brainstorm a plan. If we engage our staff, our employees will get involved. We could utilize the existing strengths of our firm to enhance personal narratives." However, with this fresh hope, Jake also felt a fountain of trepidation rise. Would this spark of support endure when faced with the realities of firm culture? As the conversation continued, the flicker in the eyes of his colleagues was refreshing, yet fleeting. It was a mirror reflecting his own uncertainty. The meeting reached its natural conclusion, and with it, Jake felt as if an exhale had been heaved from the depths of his soul. He had disrupted the flow of the usual meeting, his determination, rising like steam, guiding the initial hesitance towards possibility. But as he stood to leave, the weight of his vision burdened him anew. Was this real change or merely illusion, a temporary buoy in a relentless sea of pragmatism? As he exited the meeting room, a flicker of doubt surfaced. How much longer could this fervor sustain itself? Would he rally a coalition, or would the shadows of reality converge on his aspirations? Resolute yet wary, Jake knew something pivotal awaited beyond the door. The real test lingered ahead. Could he navigate the choppy waters of organizational inertia and carry this momentum forward? The moment of undeniable truth approached, compelling him to confront not only his colleagues, but the very essence of his conviction. What lay ahead would demand every ounce of his inner strength. Jake stepped into the hallway, his thoughts racing faster than his feet. Each step echoed the uncertainty hovering in the air, a visceral reminder of the forces at play in the firm. Was he foolish to hope? The gravity of his ambitions felt heavier now, almost stifling. He allowed the buzz of a passing office worker to pull him out of his spiraling thoughts and into the reality around him. As he approached his desk, Jake configured a plan. Catapulting ideas was easy. Executing them, however, was a different battle. The tides of office culture were unforgiving, and the road of resistance would be long and unpredictable. In quiet moments of self-reflection, he often pondered if his courage was forged from genuine belief or if it was merely a shimmering facade to hide his insecurities. He opened his laptop, the familiar glow inviting yet demanding. Instead of jumping straight into spreadsheets and targets, he drafted a mind map detailing how to leverage their collective strengths into a new initiative. A column labeled Mentorship program caught his eye, a title imbued with promise yet also populated by potential pitfalls. What if his colleagues changed their minds? What if the firm's rigid expectations suffocated his vision before it took shape?
Despite the risk, he pressed on, listing possible mentors within the firm, connecting them to potential mentees, even imagining success stories blossoming from their efforts. It kindled a flame in him, an inexorable realization that perhaps he was not merely an employee playing along in corporate games. Perhaps he was a catalyst for transformation. But as excitement sparked in his chest, doubt too surged forward, clawing at his resolve. Just then, Marcus, the intern, walked by. With each passing week, Jake noted the young man's untapped potential hidden behind shyness. That instinctive urge to mentor surged at the sight of him, the very embodiment of the purpose Jake sought. "Hey, Marcus," Jake called out, his heart racing. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" The boy hesitated, but walked over, shadows of uncertainty playing across his young features. "Sure, Jake, what's up? What do you think about mentorship? Have you ever considered having someone to guide you through your journey here?" The question felt monumental. Jake held his breath, wondering if he could articulate the depth of what he envisioned. I hadn't thought much about it," Marcus replied, scratching the back of his neck. "But I guess it could be helpful. I'm struggling to fit in." Immediately, Jake felt the wave of connection swell. Here was someone who needed guidance, just as he had once longed for support.
What if we explored that together? I could help you navigate some of the complexities around here if you're interested. Marcus's eyes lit up, and for a moment, Jake glimpsed the ripple of change, a tentative but unmistakable shift in his own perception of professional growth. The prospect of partnering with others like Marcus offered a glimpse of shared purpose. Simultaneously, Jake felt electrified and intimidated. Could he bear the mantle of responsibility? He felt the exuberance of being an influencer, intertwined with a chilling acknowledgement of his own limitations. What if he failed to meet their expectations? "Let's meet tomorrow to brainstorm some ideas," Jake proposed, heart pounding. "Okay, that sounds great. Thanks, Jake," Marcus replied, a newfound eagerness in his voice. As Marcus walked away, Jake's resolve ignited. The potential of guiding someone felt monumental, a powerful antidote to the past fears that had anchored him. But this was just the beginning. His plan required support, and now, more than ever, he needed to convince his colleagues of its worth. Realigning the firm's priorities felt like mapping uncharted territory, filled with potential pitfalls and triumphs alike. He wanted to be the linchpin that held this endeavor together, yet a sliver of doubt remained. Would he let his own insecurities compromise the vision he so fervently sought? As the day wore on, Jake's mind buzzed, oscillating between options. Each moment expanded his understanding of what was at stake, propelling him toward his next challenge.
Who would he enlist to support this burgeoning initiative? The time would come to uncover that truth, yet facing those next conversations beckoned a certain unease. What if the trust he needed fell short? He paced the floor, feeling urgency clawing at the pit of his stomach. Awaiting affirmation from his colleagues would test his conviction. The moment he had feared, the decisive confrontation with their long-held beliefs, was looming closer. Tomorrow held promises and threats alike, but one certainty emerged: he could not retreat. With a deep inhale, he wrote down the names of colleagues who might stand by him, praying they embraced the vision that had ignited his heart. The scene outside the window shifted from late afternoon light to twilight, the changing hues underscoring his unrelenting pursuit of change. What lay ahead would demand unwavering resolve, and yet it would be in the hands of others that the success of his journey would rest. He was caught in a subtle web of accountability, each thread binding him closer to his aspirations. Tomorrow was not just another day, it was the turning point. The clash between old anchors and new ambitions awaited him, and he felt the weight of that potential press unyieldingly against his chest. How would Jake handle that pivotal moment? The morning sun filtered through the office windows, casting long shadows across Jake's desk. As he sat there, the familiar hum of the office brought a false sense of calm that did little to quell the tempest in his mind. Today was pivotal. The stakes were higher than ever, and the fear of vulnerability crept in like an unwelcome guest. He glanced at the clock, the seconds ticking steadily, each one a reminder of the impending meetings that would define his plan. Convincing his colleagues to embrace a mentorship program would demand more than just enthusiasm. It would require compelling arguments, a clear vision, and perhaps even a semblance of leadership he had yet to fully embrace. Jake was acutely aware of the gravitational pull of doubt that threatened to drag him under, yet he resolved to rise above it. Marcus, with his youthful enthusiasm, could be the spark that ignited the program. Thoughts of their conversation lingered, filling him with a sense of responsibility. Jake had not only imagined a program that could change lives, he had essentially volunteered to lead this initiative, thereby exposing his own vulnerabilities. What if he stumbled? What if he couldn't provide the guidance he envisioned? He took a deep breath and opened his laptop, willing his fingers to type out an email to his team. The blank screen stared back at him, taunting his hesitance. This message would set the tone for everything that followed. It had to resonate. Subject: New initiative proposal, mentorship program, he typed, cringing slightly at how formal it felt. Yet he reminded himself that professionalism was required. As he began to explain the concept, words poured from him.
This was a vision steeped in the realization that everyone could benefit from guidance at different stages of their careers. But even in writing, the internal dialogue raged on. Could he convince his colleagues? They were entrenched in their ways, their beliefs formed over years of adherence to a rigid corporate culture. A nagging worry clawed at him. how fiercely would they resist change? He hesitated again, eyes flickering to the office culture awards that adorned the walls, a testament to the status quo. But the very awards that celebrated success felt like chains binding him to an outdated model. He pushed against those thoughts, determined to mold something new, a legacy that would endure. After clicking send, Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders, but only slightly. The real danger was yet to come. Today, he planned to approach a few colleagues, test the waters, and seek informal support for this venture. He needed allies, individuals who would resonate with his motives, not detractors sowing seeds of doubt. Stepping into the break room, Jake spotted Emily, a respected project manager known for her insight and experience. She stood by the coffee machine, absorbed in conversation with a colleague. With each word she spoke, he noted the confidence radiating from her, a stark contrast to his own rising apprehension. He approached, buoyed by a flicker of determination, and waited for a break in their chatter. When the conversation shifted, he seized his moment. "Hey, Emily, could I get your thoughts on something?" he began, trying to keep his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "Sure, Jake, what's on your mind?" She turned her focus to him, eyebrows raised in interest. "I'm exploring the idea of a mentorship program within the firm. I believe it could make a real difference, especially for interns and new hires. Would you be open to discussing it?" Her eyes narrowed slightly, and a flicker of skepticism crossed her face. "Mentorship? That's a big initiative. What makes you think it would work here?" The challenge in her tone struck a nerve. Jake felt the blood rush to his cheeks. This was the moment he'd anticipated, the scrutiny that made or broke new ideas. He braced himself, aware that he stood on the precipice of either validation or rejection. "Well, I believe that many of us have valuable experience to share. If we navigate it thoughtfully, we can create a supportive environment that fosters growth." He felt passion threading through his words, urging him to keep speaking. Emily's expression softened, and he noticed her considering it. "It could work if executed well. You'll need to gauge interest and perhaps create a plan to present." Her response ignited a flutter of hope within him. Yet within that hope, a nagging question remained. Would others share her enthusiasm? Would aligning his peers with a collaborative vision prove too formidable a task? Jake's heart raced as he navigated their conversation, feeling the magnitude of what hung in the balance. He had begun to open the door to dialogue and possibility, yet the path ahead remained fraught with uncertainty. Realizing other colleagues might intercept his initiative spurred an urgent need to expand his approach. He would need to be strategic, acting with more intensity and less indecision now than ever before. Waiting any longer would merely sow doubt. Tomorrow would not only demand engagement, it would require unwavering conviction. The office clock ticked down the minutes to the end of the day. Jake resolved to reach out to others now rather than postpone it. Who else could share in his vision, elevate it? Just then, the office door swung open, and Jake froze. What if the very person he needed to align with was about to step through? With his heart pounding, he prepared himself for the moment that could redefine everything. His chest tightened, and he braced for the unknown, uncertain of what opportunities or challenges might await him. The door creaked open, and in walked Clara, the head of the marketing department. Her reputation as a formidable strategist preceded her, and she had a knack for cutting through corporate fluff with brutal honesty. Whenever she spoke, the room listened, fearful of her critique, but also respectful of her acumen. Jake's pulse quickened. Of all people, she could make or break his endeavor. He took a step forward, clearing his throat, his mind racing. Would she see his initiative as a genuine opportunity or a frivolous distraction from their hard-won culture? Before he could second-guess himself, he approached her with a determination fueled by the stakes suddenly laid bare before him. "Clara, do you have a moment?" he asked, trying to keep the quiver from his voice. She was momentarily taken aback, flipping through her notes before setting her eyes on him. "Depends on what you want. Make it quick. I've got a meeting in 10. This was it, the moment of truth. The stakes crystallized around him as he considered the potential repercussions of his words. "I'm proposing a mentorship program. I think it can really enhance our team's cohesion and help new employees integrate better into the firm. Would you be interested in hearing about it?" Her brow furrowed slightly, assessing him. "Mentorship, huh? Sounds ambitious. What's the angle? Why should anyone here care?" Jake felt the familiar clenching of doubt in his stomach, the remnants of the fear that had gnawed at him since day one. Yet he summoned a wave of resolution fueled by the conversations he'd had so far.
Because mentoring isn't about just guiding others, it's about sharing our collective knowledge. This could elevate our overall productivity and morale, particularly in a team where some feel lost or undervalued. Clara's gaze sharpened, piercing through his rationale. But mentoring also requires time and commitment.
It's not just a casual endeavor. It demands follow-through. Are you prepared to invest yourself, not just today, but for the long haul? Her inquiry was a challenge. Jake gripped the edge of the countertop as if he could anchor himself to it. I am committed. I believe wholeheartedly in this program, and I'll personally curate the mentorship matchups to ensure accountability and impact. Clara was quiet for a moment, and Jake could feel the weight of her silence like a sword hanging above him. Okay, I'll bite, she finally said, crossing her arms. Let's say I'm on board. You need a fleshed-out proposal. I want to see detailed mentoring structures and metrics for success. If you can prove that this will benefit us, you might just get your chance. Jake's heart raced at the opportunity she was throwing him. It was no longer just talk. He had to deliver. This was the test of his resolve and strategic planning under fire. He nodded, careful to control the rush of relief that threatened to spill over into a giddy grin. Absolutely. I'll put together a comprehensive plan and get back to you. Good, Clara replied, her voice firm yet with a hint of approval deep within. She turned to leave but paused just before stepping out. Just remember, Jake, it's one thing to come up with ideas. It's another to execute them successfully. Stay focused. As the door swung shut, Jake felt invigorated yet burdened. This moment marked the convergence of so many fears and aspirations, and the weight of truth was palpable. Actually executing this plan would stretch him in ways he had yet to understand. Determined, he returned to his desk, his mind whirling with a myriad of tasks ahead. He needed a plan not only to impress, but to fulfill a vision that kept nagging at him to take shape. Jake pulled out a notebook and a pen, eager to map out his thoughts. Yet amid the fervor, a new wave of self-doubt threatened to wash over him. What if his ideas fell flat? What if he couldn't craft something viable for Clara or the others? He pushed past those discouraging thoughts. He had already taken the first step by initiating dialogue. Now he needed to plan with intent. Fueled by necessity, Jake began drafting sections for the proposal, his mind racing through the logistics of pairings, possible mentor qualifications, and defining success metrics. Hours slipped by as he lost himself in the intricate details, but the deeper he delved, the clearer it became that the hardest part wouldn't be the execution, but rather leading others to believe in him, the leader, the mentor, the one responsible for this initiative. Suddenly, his screen flickered, a reminder of a pending meeting. It jolted him back to the present, pushing aside the dream of mentorship with the reality of his day-to-day tasks. Disappointment feathered the edges of his burgeoning hopes. Jake leaned back, considering the looming meeting. Would he stand up and present himself confidently to peers, still nursing doubts about his capability? The clock on the wall ticked loudly as he realized the next challenge awaited him, the real test of whether he could inspire belief in others. He had sparked interest, but now he would need to ignite collective action among his colleagues. As he prepared to enter the meeting room, the questions loomed large. Could he break the chains of tradition that bound them? Jake inhaled deeply, ready at last to face the committee, not just as an employee, but as a leader staring into the abyss between dreams and reality, his breath catching with the anticipation of what might unfold. The conference room felt charged with an unspoken tension as Jake entered, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He watched as his colleagues settled into their seats, their faces reflecting a blend of intrigue and uncertainty. He was stepping into the unknown, aware that some perceived him merely as the junior member of the team, a title he was desperate to transcend. Sitting at the long table, he glanced across the room, making eye contact with familiar faces. There was Lisa, the skeptical vet of the department, her eyebrow raised ever so slightly, silently questioning his potential. Then there was Marcus, who had been around too long to care about fresh ideas unless they were guaranteed to yield results. The weight of their scrutiny felt like a lead weight on his shoulders, but he pushed through the discomfort.
With a few deep breaths, Jake stood, drawing upon the adrenaline coursing through him. He realized that this was more than just a moment to present. It was an opportunity to reshape the narrative around his role in the firm. His voice wavered initially, but soon steadied as he began outlining the core concept of his mentorship program. "Thank you for gathering here today," he started, purposefully injecting a calm resonance into his words. "I'm excited to share a proposal that I believe could significantly enhance our department's effectiveness." He could see a few nods, encouragement fluttering at the edges of skepticism. As he unraveled his vision, emphasizing the importance of collective knowledge, improved cohesion, and productivity, Jake noticed the palpable shift in engagement. Slides flashed on the projector, illustrating structured pairings, anticipated outcomes, and metrics for success. He began to feel a surge of conviction. This was not merely a program, it was a pivotal cultural change he was advocating for. But just as the energy in the room began to warm, Jake felt a familiar twist of anxiety coil in his stomach. What if the questions started? What if Clara's absence had left a void in their willingness to engage? He strategically anticipated challenges and prepared his defense, but nothing prepared him for the reality of their responses. "Interesting concept, Jake," Lisa interjected, her arms crossed.
But how do we ensure mentors will genuinely commit? We've seen initiatives like this fizzle out when the busy season hits. He cringed at the very mention of complacency, but he recognized the validity of her point. Great question. That's where structured incentives come into play. Mentors would not only receive recognition, but also rewards based on their engagement metrics and the growth shown in their mentees. Marcus leaned in, his skepticism flickering momentarily into interest. And how will we measure that growth effectively? Focused and resolute, Jake responded, by setting clear, personalized goals for each mentorship pairing and scheduling regular feedback sessions to assess progress. This way, we hold ourselves accountable while ensuring continuous improvement. As the back and forth continued, a light ignited in Jake. Each interaction, each challenge presented, forced him to think on his feet and adapt. He was no longer just a body reciting facts. He was engaging in an intellectual duel, providing arguments strong enough to transform doubt into persuasion. However, amidst the exchanges, an unsettling thought crept in. What if they agreed to everything he proposed, but just committed enough to pacify him without genuine investment? The notion gnawed at the edges of his revelations, but he quelled it. His foundation was solid. This wasn't merely about convincing others, it was about embodying the leadership qualities that he yearned to cultivate in himself. The meeting transitioned into a dynamic discussion, punctuated by spirited ideas and thoughtful critiques. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, with Jake riding the waves of enthusiasm and the undercurrents of doubt. As the clock ticked closer to the end of the session, Lisa's final remark struck a chord. If this mentorship program is to succeed, it demands more than just structure. We must foster a culture of trust and continuous commitment. Jake felt a rush of understanding course through him. He was already drafting a mental blueprint of strategies to build trust, sharing his own vulnerabilities, pioneering open forums, and promoting transparency. With the meeting wrapping up, Jake knew the real battle lay ahead. The conversations had lit a fire, but sustaining that flame would be the true measure of his capabilities. He would need to convince not just one department, but the entire firm of the program's potential success. As he gathered his notes, Jake glanced around, acknowledging his colleagues. Would they back him when the nerve settled? Would they champion his vision beyond the confines of this room? Feeling empowered yet acutely aware of the hurdles ahead, he stepped outside into the corridor, freshly energized and revved up for the next stage. The echoes of discussion followed him, a reminder of both his purpose and the profound transformations he aimed to instigate. Suddenly, a thought pierced through his confidence.
Was he ready to truly inspire belief in others, or would he fall short of the transformative leader he envisioned? The answer lurked in the uncertainty he now mustered as he headed toward his desk. The weight of the challenge rekindled the fire of self-doubt he thought he had quelled. Yet each step he took teased him with the revelation that the real measure of success would not just be how he led, but how deeply he embraced the journey of becoming the leader he aspired to be. The next negotiation awaited him, one not just about mentorship, but about his own evolution. Jake stared into the horizon of his own ambitions, a mere whisper of uncertainty lingering in the air as the days turned into weeks.
He had transformed from a passive cog within the corporate machine to a driving force behind the mentorship program he envisioned, yet the journey had not been without its trials. His colleagues had engaged and challenged him, they had doubted but also believed, and that made all the difference. Days heavy with skepticism had faded, replaced with tangible enthusiasm. The proposal that had once seemed like a poetic dream had now evolved into a robust framework presented to the firm. He had refined the structure meticulously, aligning it with values that resonated deeply with his colleagues, values of connection, growth, and community. The mentorship program kicked off with a launch event, and as he stood at the front of the room addressing the gathered staff, a wave of pride washed over him. They had all come together. He had rallied them behind a cause that sought to cultivate talent and enrich their community. Here was where his courage had materialized into a collective aspiration. "I believe that mentorship is more than just guidance," Jake asserted, his voice resonating with conviction. "It's about creating a legacy of innovation and support that lasts beyond our tenure here. It's about leaving a mark on the lives we touch, just as they will touch others." The room filled with applause, a visceral acknowledgement of something greater than himself. The excitement enveloped him like a warm blanket, reassuring him he had made the right choice. He could feel Clara's sharp nod of approval in the back. Marcus's eager smile was an undeniable reminder of their shared journey. They were there, along with many others, forging connections that spanned beyond the sheer mechanics of business. But the true moment of transformation came when he watched Marcus take the stage. The once shy intern had blossomed into a confident young man eager to share his own story. "I'm here because someone took the time to believe in me," he declared, drawing laughs and cheers. "I want to help others discover that same belief, just as Jake did for me." Jake marveled at the boys' evolution, remembering their first encounter at the coffee shop.
Marcus personified the very essence of the program's mission, a striking mirror reflecting Jake's own transformation into a mentor, a leader, and a changemaker. As the event concluded, accolades came pouring in. Colleagues approached him to express their support, some even signing up to be mentors themselves. Jake basked in their enthusiasm, but remained aware that this was merely the beginning. He had to continue nurturing these connections and foster a culture of trust and collaboration. That was now his responsibility. The realities of this transformation were concrete. Within weeks, metrics revealed increased engagement levels in teams, higher productivity rates, and a noticeable uplift in office morale. The organizational landscape began to mold around his vision, and astonishing evolution sparked from a single moment of courage, inspired by a homeless boy's dream. He felt not just pride, but a solid confidence rooted in genuine achievement. He had conquered the fears that had shackled him to a life devoid of meaning. He had proved that real success encompasses the empowerment of others, a testament to personal growth. Jake felt recognized not just as an employee, but as a leader, a status cemented not through titles, but through the tangible impact he had created. He stood in the office, glancing at the framed photos of the launch event. The faces beamed back at him, a tapestry of dreams woven together. He felt a powerful urge to open the door to his office, to embrace this newfound identity fully, without reservation. As he stepped forward, he grasped the significance of his next journey. He was now an architect of potential and accountability, a solid bridge connecting aspiration and reality. He knew the road ahead would require continued effort, but he was ready to walk it, stride by determined stride. This was a moment etched into his memory, a culmination of his transformation from a disheartened lawyer into an inspiring mentor, a man not just dreaming of change, but enacting it. The call to action echoed through him. He could not afford to relent or shy away. Each day would demand his commitment to this path, to champion the vulnerable, and to guide them toward their own futures. The challenge beckoned, a thrilling cliff that he was now eager to leap into. This is the moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.